Potatoes are the food best friend. Good and bad morning for the sake of inclusion. I am your Reformed Baptist, Scott Sowers, and Scott Sowers would like to welcome you to the Mr. Worldly Wiseman editorial. Here we discuss the corrupt tactics of Wiseman so our audience can keep a biblical worldview when consuming art. So here's something I never thought I would say. We're doing a whole video about Eminem.
Also known as the real Slim Shady, also known as Missy Misdemeanor Elliott.
One of my viewers asked me to review Southpaw, don't look how long ago, and when I started watching it, I did my normal routine and checked IMDb and Wikipedia, because, I saw an actor I just had to know the name of. But then I see this wild story about how the whole movie is a successor to 8 Mile and that Eminem was supposed to be in this film and it's a metaphor for, his drug addiction. Like, what? Yeah, it became a bigger video than I thought. But also, look at me, I'm not really a big fan of rap. I'm a white guy who wears glasses. I belong in a Metallica mosh pit, you know what I'm saying? When taking a look at this film Southpaw, it's very important to look at its history because it shapes the film. Once upon a time, producers Alan and Peter Ritchie were like, hey, let's remake The Champ, which is a 1979 sports drama about a boxer's relationship with his son. I didn't watch this movie, so I don't know anything beyond that. So when the producers went to Kurt Stutter, creator of the Sons of Anarchy, to write it, he didn't know the movie either. But he did know Mom Spaghetti. Stutter was like, have you guys heard of a rapper that's, very provocative, very controversial, has 13 Grammys, truly established a white presence in rap? No. Do you guys know the rapper that sounds like a candy? Oh, yes, absolutely, for sure. I love Reese's Pieces. Well, he has a movie called 8 Mile, kind of describing his first couple albums. I want to describe his albums Relapse and Recovery, which is kind of like a Robert Downey Jr. story. Except, instead of being a weirdo kid, he's the annoying kid, kind of like Robert Downey Jr. And the Ritchie brothers were like, yeah, whatever, as long as you torture an undeserving kid in the movie, that's fine. So then Kurt Stutter calls up Eminem, and Eminem loves the idea. I'm not sure how you get a skinny guy like him to look like a crazy boxer, but you know what? He's excited. Don't kill the man's dream. So Stutter's like, you sure you're gonna be in the film? Yeah, I'm totally doing it. You're fully committed to this? I am committed. Absolutely sure. Absolutely, undeniably, fully, uncontrollably. I mean, how many more adverbs do you want? I'm gonna be in the movie.
A few moments later.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to skip out on this movie. I just need to focus on my music right now. Well, I need to recast fast. Cool, you rhyme. Do you know anything that rhymes with Bake Hillenball? And that's how we got this movie. That's how we got this movie with a much more preferable actor. No shade to Eminem, it's just, come on, it's Gyllenhaal. So as someone who doesn't like rap at all, I listened to all of Eminem's albums up to Recovery, as the only research into Eminem's life. Luckily for me, the real Slim Shady is not the most subtle person. So since Southpaw is technically a sequel to 8 Mile, I watched 8 Mile. Quite the vulgar movie. It is more unique to me, however, because everyone in the city is absolutely obsessed with rap. People break into song like it's Singing in the Rain or Beauty and the Beast. They are swooned by rap. Every single person here is convinced rap is the only way they can make a living. And every single person wants out of 8 Mile, which is understandable. It's dirty, filled with drugs and crime. People burn houses and nobody cares. But no matter what, it all shapes the main character, B-Rabbit, played by Eminem. This is where he grew up. Southpaw makes an emphasis on where the main character, Billy Hope, was raised and how he had to struggle his way to the top. That's taking their notes from this movie. I mean, for one, B-Rabbit is a single father at what? The age of 20? He really does care for his daughter, and I'm sure he wants a better life for her, but he has to depend on his mother to take care of her, who, by all means, has no business being a parent. She's dating men that went to high school with B-Rabbit and depending on them for money because she won't get a job. She is so incredibly toxic and annoying. B-Rabbit and his mom fight basically any scene they have together. In fact, it gets so bad that B-Rabbit has to take his daughter out of the home because his mom is too dangerous to be around. And what blows my mind is that they go back to the home because they have no other option. His friends are barely better too. All B-Rabbit's friends just go to parties and scam people and drive around in their car to talk about all the girls they're gonna get once they become rappers, but they're not gonna become rappers. And B-Rabbit is no better than them. He's arrogant like his friends. He's angry like his mother. He has a passion for rap like 8 Mile. In fact, he thinks he's going to be a rapper. He is an absolute product of 8 Mile, except for one thing. He seems to be the only one who has a job and keeps it. He saves his money to get studio time, and if you have an instinctual reaction to palms are sweaty, then you know where his story ended up. This film shows that the only thing separating B-Rabbit from everyone else is his drive, and that carries into the movie Southpaw.
Hey, champ. Move your feet, move your feet. Come on, champ.
I'm reminding you once more that 8 Mile is based mostly on Eminem's earliest albums. Most likely the Slim Shady LP and the Marshall Mathers LP. The Eminem Show was released the same year as 8 Mile, so I imagine it was an album that more complemented the film than inspired it. Then Encore released 2 years after the film, so, unless the production crew were time travelers, no. It doesn't really matter because those albums both tell the same story as the last two, along with too many sex jokes. With the Slim Shady LP, the Marshall Mathers LP, 8 Mile, the Eminem Show, and Encore, Eminem carved out a very profitable career for himself, which was then followed by 5 years of radio. I'm sure this was a distressing time for fans, but I don't really know because I was born in 2004. For my full 5 years of living, Eminem did not even exist to me, and I was still too young to care when he finally came back! In 2009, Eminem finally released his album Relapse, and promptly released Recovery the next year. These were the albums that told the story of what he's been doing for 5 years, while all his fans desperately waited. Drugs. It was drugs. Both albums describe his fall from grace and how he had to pull himself back up. This story is what made Kurt Sutter decide to take a Champ remake and turn it into a spiritual sequel to 8 Mile. We saw the grueling makings of a star in the first film, so what tragedies still await you within fame? On a technical level, Southpaw has amazing fights. The kind that makes you go, is this real? The body shots are real, but the headshots are not. Which I almost feel like is a lie because it looks so real. I mean, some of these hits in reality would be knockouts, but the unreality of it still feels very reality-like. I can always appreciate when an actor actually takes the hit. Like, stop being a baby, you can get slapped for a few takes.
3, 4, 1.
But the moments where you can actually ogle these great fights are actually very few. There's not a lot of boxing in this boxing movie, but there is a lot of sad. There will be many scenes you will cry at, but not me. I just teared up. Only teared up, except the end. The end is where I full-blown cried. But before I start digging into the plot, I want to talk about how the characters are positioned. Gosling's kid is kind of for me. She irritated me more than anything, but she does bring, that emotional stake to the movie. Also known as a plot device. But no one watches these movies for the children anyway, whatever.
Move your lips, Marshmallow!
Tick Wills is also a fairly cliche mentor role, but he does have a lot of great dialogue. I really do enjoy his role as Hope's moral center, even though, it's a bit cliche. I'll go into further detail in a minute. Hope's wife, Maureen Hope, is really strong off the bat, I feel like. With a character like her, it's very easy to make her unlikable. A lot of wife characters that worry about their husbands can seem like they're cramping on their style, but they position Maureen in a place of true care. She just wants Hope to stop fighting like he has 2 stocks left in big battlefield. Hope isn't made to be in opposition to Maureen, but actually values her opinion. That's why I feel like characters like Skylar from Breaking Bad fame are hated, or at least part of the reason. The family dynamic is really interesting here because it's trying to portray the typical nuclear family dynamic, which at this point is very refreshing. Except that it's still fractured. Billy Hope wants to be a male leader. He provides for them and gives them nice things, but he's so emotional and reactionary, he can't protect his wife and kid. In fact, it kills his wife, which is where I see the sequel part of this film with 8 Mile. B-Rabbit has a lot of anger issues that were never resolved. So we have this movie to go, dude, you're almost 40. Get some counseling maybe. When a man lives his whole life sticking his head out to get hit, he's not just risking his life, but his family's as well. It's such a brutal line when Hope's daughter said,
Mom always said we had to take care of you.
to which Hope responds,
No, baby, that's not how it's supposed to work, alright? I'm supposed to take care of you.
Billy realized that he has been living a life he never wanted. Sure, he's rich and lived lavishly, but he's been counting the days for his wife to die. He never wanted his daughter to have his childhood, but here she is in the system. He needs to finally learn how to play defense. Which is where the boxing metaphor is a little silly to me. I mean, you're a 50-year-old boxer, and you're just learning how to play defense? Like, I get it. Your strategy is just to take hits until you get one fight-ending punch. But, geez, none of your trainers made you work on fundamentals? In Billy's personal life, it makes more sense, though. Every problem in his life is caused because he can't control his own anger. In order to change his world, he needs to learn self-control. This movie is a tragedy. It's sad, but I feel like sometimes it can be kind of contrived. Like, it gets to a point where I feel the writer is just making things up to milk the drama. I'm specifically talking about Hoppy. He's so disconnected from the plot that I kept forgetting he existed, and then he just dies to make Tick and Gosling depressed. Kind of. Hoppy's death communicates the idea that we truly aren't in control of the things around us. I think the theme could have been integrated into the plot better, but I still do think it's necessary to convey. Sometimes we think we'll never get knocked down, or we can hold the world up with our own strength, but God is really good at humbling us. It's important to know where we stand in the world and what we're capable of. See, Billy Hope can't control the world around him, but he can control his actions. That's the drive of this film. Heck, both films. What I really liked about 8 Mile is that it showed every character as someone who was stuck in 8 Mile because of their own choices. B-Rabbit's mom is in a trailer park because she refuses to get a job and exclusively depends on trashy boyfriends. Future doesn't want to leave 8 Mile because he likes the respect he gets as a host. And basically all of B-Rabbit's friends are guys that dream about becoming rappers, but never do anything. They just drive around talking about the money and the girls they'll get once they become rappers. But they'll never become rappers. Eminem's character is the only one who decides to do a good job at his work, save his money, works on a demo, and gets studio time. And as we can see from Southpaw, it paid off. Only because B-Rabbit had that self-control. Now, Billy Hope has to learn self-control again with his anger, and make smarter decisions for his daughter so she doesn't end up just like her mother. Hope can't control the outside world, but the film wants to say he can control himself. Christians have a more nuanced take. I think I'm safe in saying that this movie targets a more male-heavy issue. Not to say that women can also be angry, aggressive narcissists. Let's be inclusive here with our finger pointing. But I do believe that more men will relate to Southpaw. I believe God made men to lead like in 1 Peter 3:6-7. For instance, Sarah obeyed her husband Abraham and called him her master. You are her daughters when you do what is right without fear of what your husbands might do. In the same way, You husbands must give honor to your wives. Treat your wife with understanding as you live together. She may be weaker than you are, but she is your equal partner in God's gift of new life. Treat her as you should, so your prayers will not be hindered. This is why I believe men have an easier time compartmentalizing their emotions. They have an innate stoicism that helps men make decisions. This also means that it's easier for a man to bottle up his emotions until they burst. This is why it's important to understand that emotions are not taboo in a man's life. King David was a very emotional person who wrote many a psalm and tore many a garment, but he still kept himself as a composed leader. King David seemed to really understand the balance between stoicism and expression, and being able to glorify the Lord with all of it. I'm still going to make jokes about men showing emotion though, because haha, funny. Another great advantage men have is the rivers of testosterone that get pumped into us, making us very muscly and cool.
Discipline your image. Do you think I got where I am today because I dress like Peter Pan here?
Men are very physically reliant. This also means with our aforementioned emotional problems, we can become very violent. Physicality can be very important and a part of our leadership role, like what was described in 1 Peter, but also like how Jesus flipped tables in righteous anger. I do feel like a lot of Christian men harp on this moment far too much, though. This was a very rare moment and is not the lasting image Jesus left on this earth. He was kind, soft, and understanding. Traits that men need to understand and emulate as image-bearing creatures of God.
Amen, somebody.
I've expressed this in earlier videos where I say that each sex has a strength and weakness. They are not equal in build, but equal in Christ. Men are great leaders and fantastic protectors, but as I've explained earlier, very impulsive and violent, which a sinful world preys on, especially when reputation gets involved. In the movie 8 Mile, it stresses reputation as a very important piece in the economy of 8 Mile. It's how you move up the social ladder, but also how you get beat up. The rap battle sequences are all about tearing up someone's reputation, and I think if you look around for 5 seconds, you can see the importance in real life rap culture. Then we get to Southpaw, that's all about boxing culture, which reputation is literally your whole career. Your fights get scheduled depending on if you are reliable enough to give a good show. So when some loudmouth kid starts challenging Hope's boxing career, his public image, and even his marriage, Hope's gonna lash out. You know, when he's actually protecting something important and when he's protecting his own ego. I'm speaking from experience. It's especially hard when a man's wife is being slandered. She's the jewel of your crown and you can't bear to see dirt thrown her way. It may seem so right to shut them up, but it's not. It does not portray the grace and mercy of Christ, and it's putting your wife in more danger. Lamentations 3:30-31. Let them turn the other cheek to those who strike them, and accept the insults of their enemies. For no one is abandoned by the Lord forever. Nahum 1:2-3. The Lord is slow to get angry, but his power is great, and he never lets the guilty go unpunished. He displays his power in the whirlwind and the storm. The billowing clouds are the dust beneath his feet. You have the right to self-defense for your family if your lives are being threatened, but other than that, walk away. Rebuke the fool, but if he continues, walk away, because you cannot argue with a fool. That self-control, however, comes from God. Remember, we are dead to our sins, and dead men can't control anything about themselves. Only through God's mercy can we spiritually grow like that. If we put our trust in the Lord, the fruit of self-control will bloom as proof of our salvation. To bring this back to the main theme of the movie, Billy Hope cannot control the world around him. That is in God's hand. So it only makes sense for him to trust in the Lord to save and grow him from his sufferings. Lamentations 3:18-26. I cry out, my splendor is gone. Everything I had hoped for from the Lord is lost. The thought of my suffering and homelessness is bitter beyond words. I will never forget this awful time as I grieve over my loss. Yet I still dare to hope when I remember this. The faithful love of the Lord never ends. His mercies never cease. Great is his faithfulness. His mercies begin afresh each morning. I say to myself, the Lord is my inheritance, therefore I will hope in him. The Lord is good to those who depend on him, to those who search for him. So it is good to wait quietly for salvation from the Lord. There's a tangent I want to mention before we start ending the video. I found it very refreshing that the film presented a male-led family. Sure, Hope isn't the best leader, but the acknowledgement is nice. I don't think Southpaw is trying to make a critique on unorthodox or unbiblical marriages, but it's just nice to see male leaders once in a while. Also, if the men are sick and tired of me knocking on men, go watch the Barbie video. I badger women a lot in that video.
I'm the dream crusher.
I am very glad that Jake Gyllenhaal was cast in this movie instead of Eminem. Eminem isn't necessarily bad in 8 Mile, I just think he wasn't really pushed outside of his range. There's so many shots of him just staring off into space, and any dialogue he has is just screaming at people. The scenes where he needs to be intimate is where he really struggles. So yeah, they were smart and strategic where they wrote his character. It's just very much still Eminem. I do believe that all of Gyllenhaal's depth would have been lost if Eminem was still in the lead role. Like I said earlier, the metaphors can be a little silly to me when it comes to boxing. Like how he doesn't even seem to have a grasp on any boxing basics. The Southpaw symbolism is definitely strange for me. Shredder made it that way because it's unorthodox, like a white rapper in a black rapping world. But is it really that weird? I come from kickboxing, so I'm not really sure about the major differences between kickboxing and boxing, but in kickboxing, we were encouraged to feel comfortable in both orthodox and southpaw. So that cheapens the final blow slightly for me, but I do revel in Hope's victory after everything he's been through. And seriously, I do revel in the victory. I felt like I was holding my breath the entire time. Then Hope finally confided in his daughter, and I could let everything out. Really, that's what you're going to watch this movie for. It's very cliche, but Gyllenhaal's grief sucks you in. Everything he goes through, you just feel like you're right by his side, and you're dying for a resolution. Even if I do think that final fight is weird, I still cheer for that final victory. I still don't like rap, though, so. Next week, we'll finish this Eminem semi-autobiographical trilogy with...
Finally!
But in the meantime, if you could like this video, if you could subscribe to me, and, you know, if you have, this was a recommended video, so, I do look at the comics, and I do listen to, you know, what movies you want me to review. It may take some time, but I will eventually do it. So, go ahead and comment down there. And I think that's it. There's, I got some things cooking. So, if that's, like, yes, I'm sorry. The videos, they're not coming out as fast as they should be. But I'm working on something. I'm cooking something up. And I think you guys are going to really like it. So, other than that, stay unimpressed with the fools, guys, and don't forget to fear the Lord. I'll see you guys later.